Fish on First has partnered with About the Fans to launch a merchandise collection. Rep the FOF logo in more Marlins-inspired apparel. Find it all at aboutthefans.com. Enter coupon code FOF10 at checkout to get 10% off your order. FOF10 for a 10% discount.
This is Griffin Conan. You're watching Fish on First Live.
Hello and welcome to the edition of FOF Live presented by About the Fans. As always, you can check out About the Fans and our FOF merchandise collection on aboutthefans.com, and you can get 10% off your order with FOF10 on checkout. And welcome to this edition, again, FOF Live. This is going to be very fun. This is always one of our favorite streams of the year every time we face the Phillies, and we'll get to that very quickly. But first, let me introduce the panel. You have myself, Daniel, hosting. We have Eli, Kevin, Nate, Alex Carver, and probably maybe our favorite Alex. We have from Can We Fix It, basically our official Phillies reporter for FOF, Mr. Alex Carr, one of our favorite guests we've ever had on stream. Always a pleasure having you, Alex. How do you feel? First time having you on, first series, and also a big trade between these teams happened a couple months ago.
Yes, I'm very excited. I know that is probably an odd thing for a Phillies fan to be at the moment. Although big split yesterday. But I'm very excited to be here. Always a blast with my friends here at Fish on First, and I'm so pumped to talk Phillies and Marlins because, as we all know, my closeted Marlins fan self always ends up coming out here on these shows. So I'm really excited to get dirty. Let's do it.
Oh, yeah, there'll be a good amount of Starlin Caba talk in just a few. But before that, we do have to talk a little bit about the series before. I want to do this very quickly so we get a little more on this series and maybe previewing what happened in the offseason. Eli, Marlins got swept 3-0 by the D-backs. Run through this to see what happened last series.
Yeah, the D-backs, they came in. I don't think the record reflected how talented and deep this team was coming into this series. Most of us picked the D-backs to win the series anyway, but it really showed out in this one where they just really the home runs were the difference in this one, where the D-backs have so many guys that are a threat, especially left-handed batters against the Marlins righties. That's going to be an ongoing storyline for much of this season, is that the Marlins pitching staff is so righty heavy. And so we had Josh Naylor homer in all 3 games of the series. You had Pavin Smith, who was the series MVP, despite not hitting as many home runs. I know that was a little divisive in our evaluation of this, but yeah, it's the talent disparity between the position players between these groups really showed out. So it was those first 2 games really weren't even as close as the final scores would indicate. Pretty sizable wins. I'll turn it over to Kevin for the final one, because that final game was one of the more bizarre ones we've seen from the Marlins this year. So, and Kevin was there. So just take us through that series finale, because that was the one they really had a chance to win and just couldn't get that big hit to take over.
Yeah, it was such a weird game just from the start, especially with Edward and how he looked. You know, coming off a pretty decent start against the Nationals, got the job done. Comes in, gives you 4 innings, and then literally the first hitter he faces, which I believe was Corbin Carroll, he strikes him out. He's unable to complete the strikeout. It's a wild pitch. Corbin steals second and third, and there was a sac fly that essentially manufactured the first run of the game. And after that, Pavin Smith with the home run, Josh Naylor had a home run. Somehow Rob Brantley went 3 for 3 on the night. So it just shows how crazy, one game can be. And I think the biggest thing to take away from this is, and we saw this a lot in that Pirates series, was just the amount of stolen bases that the Marlins surrendered. You had the second and third from Corbin Carroll, yet another one. Perdomo had one. And a lot of that just has to do with how slow these pitchers are, getting the ball to the mound. Cabrera was extremely slow. And it was, I think, 5 stolen bases when Cabrera was on the mound. And that just, you take that away, or you take 2 of those, 2 or 3 of them away, and you're looking at a completely different game where the Marlins really could have had an opportunity to win it. Aside from that, Xavier Edwards extended his hit streak to 10 games. Sanoja with a 2-hit game. Conan gets a hit off a lefty. Kyle Stowers with a 2-hit game off the lefty as well. So some encouraging stuff still. And at the end of the day, Marlins and I think we said this, at the start of the stream, that this could be the week where the Marlins stay afloat, or where they will fall back down to earth to what we expect. And unfortunately, I think we know where that's going. So 8-10 still not terrible, but going to Philly, you have to face Wheeler. You got to face one of the best pitchers in baseball in Luzardo, which we'll talk about in a bit. And then for the Marlins, it's going to be tough playing at Citizens Bank. We've seen that place rocking before. It's always selling out.
I thought you were going to say one of the best pitchers in baseball, Taiwan Walker.
I thought that's where
that was going.
I wasn't sure how he'd been doing, so I avoided his name. But tough series nonetheless.
Don't believe it. Don't believe it.
I think what I said on the stream last time we talked, I thought that starting pitching would carry the Marlins, and unfortunately it was kind of their downfall. So I was completely wrong. Good for me. But this was kind of like, speaking of back down to earth, as Kevin just did, this was kind of the fall back down to earth for Connor Gillespie, unfortunately, because I do like that guy. Just far too middle with 92-mile-an-hour fastballs, and you're not going to get by a team like the Diamondbacks with that. Josh Naylor, like these hitters that are on that team, you're not Corbin. You're not going to get away with it. So what he had shown so far and his ability to get those quick ground ball outs and, weak contact, that kind of all went away because of how middle that pitcher was. Edward Cabrera, I don't have to talk about him. I think we all know. I think all of us agree that what Edward Cabrera's future needs to be. And then Max, he was decent, quality start, still good, but it's just so slider dependent. It's just so like 50%, 49 to 48% slider. When are we going to see that sweeper? I keep waiting. I keep saying I think he could be even better than he already looks, and he wasn't bad in this game at all, but I really want to see that sweeper show up, and it has not shown up yet. So, when you get dependent on 1 to 2 pitches, good teams are going to take advantage, and the Diamondbacks kind of did, and then they got the bullpen from there. So, it's unfortunate. I thought the Marlins starting pitching would look better against a good team in this series, but it did not look good at all.
That's the one thing I wanted to know, because like with Max throughout spring training, he's saying, he has the confidence in the sweeper and the sinker, which he began using more, and we're seeing slider fastball or slider changeup, and it's just it's working, so it's hard to go against it and say he shouldn't be doing this, but at the same time it's like you have about 4 pitches now, man, use them all, and then he's just not mixing it up enough, in my opinion, at least. I mean, sinker threw it 8 times, the sweeper he threw it twice. Now again, maybe I don't know if StatCast labeled them all correctly, and maybe he threw more than 2 sweepers, but it's a little frustrating to see him not using those 2 pitches. And again, that may be, and he mentioned post game that, he was like, those were mistake pitches on the home runs. I think one of them was to Smith and the other one was to Naylor. So it's just like, maybe if you mix something else a little bit different in there, you would have a different result. And unfortunately wasn't the case, but he's still been great this season. This was a good start for him nonetheless. As you mentioned, Carver, quality start. So you'll take it, but I think he needs to mix in a little bit more of those new pitches, or maybe it's just like, he saw them play a little differently now during the regular season. It's an interesting case because this is a guy who threw them a lot during spring training.
Yeah. To move on a little bit about this, now we have Alex Carr here. I want to talk a little bit about the Phillies, how they've gone so far this season. Just a little bit of an overview as we get a little chimed in there from Isaac.
Everyone's flirting with me today.
Alex Carr, I wanted to ask you. It seems like with the Phillies, just a couple of games over 500. It seems like some top players are struggling. You have Alec Bohm, who I believe has an OPS under 500. Trey Turner has been really picking it up as of late. And then you look at the pitching side, it seems like every pitcher on that staff is playing exceptionally, except maybe the 2 pitchers you would think would actually be doing that in Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler. Talk to me a little bit first on this pitching side, because it seems like you have guys like Christopher Sanchez playing well. We have Luzardo here from that trade. Taiwan Walker, you mentioned previously, Matt Strom. All these guys are performing so well. And then the guys you would expect to be performing at a Cy Young caliber like Nola and Wheeler aren't really doing so.
Yeah, I think Zach Wheeler's stats are pretty inflated by a singular start that really went off the rails after it was Edmundo Sosa's first game in the outfield. And Johan Rojas did not take charge on a kind of easy pop fly. And the wheels just came off from there. Zach Wheeler, I think, had 3 or 4 earned runs tacked onto his line that he just did not deserve whatsoever. But nobody touched the ball, so it's not an error. MLB scoring is awesome. And then as far as Aaron Nola goes, I think a lot of it is I'm honestly I don't want to make excuses for anybody here because Aaron Nola's been pretty bad. The command has just not been there, and that's not a thing for him as not great as maybe he can be from time to time. The command is usually still pretty pinpoint, and it's his couple of mistakes that get punished. Man, he has just been walking guys like crazy, and anybody that knows Aaron Nola knows that is not the norm. So I don't know what's going on there. Probably a mechanical issue. I'd imagine that the majority of, you see a lot of Phillies folks freaking out over the fastball velocity. It's cold. Aaron Nola loves pitching in heat, and I know that sounds like something that, some homer would say. It's so true, and the numbers back it up. Everything backs it up. He needs sweat to tack the ball, and he really prefers warm weather. He's a Louisiana guy. Makes sense. So Wheeler's numbers are inflated. Nola has been really strangely bad, so it's probably something mechanical going on there. But he has also been, it's worth noting, he's been healthy. I don't think he's had a serious injury his entirety of his career in the major leagues. So this is a guy that could be dealing with some fatigue. Maybe it's a dead arm period. Who's to say? But he's an absolute Iron Man on the mound. So maybe that's, taking its toll a little bit here. Either way, Phillies are finding ways to scrape in games, as you guys mentioned. Jesus Luzardo, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Pleasure doing business, and it always will be. He's been outstanding. That new sweeper that he's developed is he is devastating against lefties now. And I think that is, honestly, in acquiring him, not something that I saw coming for Luzardo. I hadn't really dug into the numbers all that much until the Phillies had acquired him. But he really needed an out pitch against lefties, and boy, does he have one now. That is really, really, really exciting. Christopher Sanchez, he's unbelievable. Set a record yesterday for swings and misses on a singular pitch. He is disgusting. And I'm so thrilled that he's probably been the Phillies. Phillies have developed some pretty great pitching talent over the last few years. The Jeff Hoffman resurgence, the Andrew Bellotti, total moon rocket phase. They've done a good job developing pitchers at the major league level. Man, I don't know. Christopher Sanchez might be the biggest success story they've had ever. He's pretty unbelievable, and they have him locked up through the next 6 years or so. So you'll be seeing a lot of him, and that disgusting changeup of his. And then, Taijuan Walker, as we just kind of jokingly mentioned, the velocity's up. It's staying up. He looks okay. He looks passable. He looks like a guy that you can dangle at the trade deadline and maybe get something for him. And that's pretty exciting, especially with Andrew Painter, coming down the pipe. Mick Abel looking a little bit better of late. Phillies have a lot of pitching talent kind of making their way. Well, I shouldn't say a lot, but a chunk of pitching talent making their way to the majors that could arrive, as early as this year. And then the bullpen has been really bad. Outside of perhaps the big unit at the end, Jose Alvarado, Orion Kerkering, and Matt Strahm have been lockdown dynamite, super good. Everyone else, yikes. Joe Ross, Jose Ruiz, and we knew this. Anybody that has followed the Phillies closely, Phillies did not do enough this offseason to kind of shore up the bullpen at all. And they're paying the price for it now. And it's going to require Dave Dombrowski to go out at the deadline and get another impact arm and probably deal another couple of, high impact prospects for that. So that's unfortunate. But overall, on the pitching side of things, there's an explanation for everybody that's, kind of struggling that you wouldn't expect to be struggling outside of Aaron Nola, that is.
Yeah. I guess the one other thing we could call out on Luzardo that wasn't mentioned is uptick in velocity. To see his slider now at 86 instead of 80 or 83 that it was at previously on average is great. Fastball velo is still similar, but the velo on his secondaries, actually all of his secondaries is actually up. So I know it's a smaller sample in a full season, but if this permeates the whole year, especially with new action on sweeper versus slider, man, this guy could be really damn good. And I just traded him in fantasy baseball, by the way. But yeah,
I think
this guy is solid.
The biggest thing for him is the delivery has been cleaned up so much. It's not so herky jerky. It's repeatable now. And I think that has helped his command. So, I mean, I did not expect this kind of player. I did. I kind of did. I love Jesus Luzardo. I've loved Jesus Luzardo for ages. I loved Jesus Luzardo when the Marlins traded Starling Marte for Jesus Luzardo. But I didn't expect the fixes to be so simple. I think the delivery and it goes for me sweeper then delivery. The sweeper is it's a really great pitch. It is devastating against left-handers. And then the delivery has just been cleaned up so much. He looks so polished and so well maintained. And on top of that all, he looks really healthy. He's maintaining his velocity deep into starts. He's doing it all. He's really, again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Marlins. It means a lot.
On the other side of that trade, Carver, before we go back a little bit more on the Phillies, how would you even say that trade has fared so far? I know it's super early with Marion Boyd and Starling Caba, with Caba being the centerpiece on that. How would you even explain how well he's been performing or how he's been performing so far? I know you can't really compare it to Luzardo, but just their early returns on Caba so far.
Well, on the offensive side, for both of these players, it's a hell of a lot of walks and a hell of a lot of speed. Boyd stole 6 bases in a game, which you don't do that without 70, 80 grade speed. This guy has serious speed. I think he has everything that he needs to be able to stick at center field. I think he'll be fine there. Caba, it's special defense, absolutely special defense. This guy's already making diving plays. He looks really good on defense. I think this is the Marlins shortstop of the future. They have Salas around. Salas actually has only spent no games at shortstop. He's been in center field. For the Hammerheads, it's been Caba. It's been the guy mostly at shortstop. It's kind of telling. Salas all the time in the world. He may even go to FCL when they start, but Caba is the shortstop of the future for the Marlins. His defense is great. Speed really good too, and he walked 5 times in a game. So good plate discipline. I think both of these guys have the ability to be disciplined at the plate. Caba definitely further advanced, I think, even right now offensively than the 21-year-old Marion Boyd. I think Caba has a higher ceiling and a higher floor offensively just because of contact rates and where they can go. I really like Caba and Boyd. I think the jury's still out, but this is a good start for him. I like the speed. I like his ability to stick in center field, and I like that he's starting to show patience. Just got to see contact rates and what happens with those. So I think a lower floor player on the prospect side of things, not in our top 30. Caba very, very high in our top 30 because I think he's quite a bit more well-rounded, has a bit more louder tools and a bit more to him than on the offensive side than Marion Boyd. But a good start for both players. I didn't really hear Boyd talked about a lot in spring training. I heard Caba raved about in spring training. So to see Boyd off to a good start after a quiet spring, I think is encouraging. But just how the trade worked out overall, a typical rebuilding trade. The jury is going to be out on these two players, especially like for a long time. Like we're not going to know exactly what either one of these players is going to do at the major league level for a long time. But I think we have a solid idea based on how far Caba is already and how far he could go. Will it happen? Of course, with any prospect, that's remains to be seen. What's player development going to do with this kid? We got to see. But a very high floor for that player. Boyd, lower floor, but a good start. So, I can't give you did the Marlins win or lose. That's not going to happen for years. But obviously, fans looking at this from the outside in right now, they're going to be mad at the Marlins for trading away the Phillies' best pitcher so far. But this is what happens to rebuilding teams. So we need to see how these players pan out, but a good start so far.
This is my other thing, too, with this trade. Not the trade, like the results we're seeing so far. Guys, Caba has a 431 OBP. That's impressive. Like, he's hitting 200 and he has a 431 OBP. Like, I know the hit tool needs to improve. I will be the first one to tell you. I spoke to some people at the ballpark the other day, and that's what they're saying. It's like, he may be the best shortstop in minor league baseball, but the guy needs to hit. At least hit for 250, man. He's getting on base at a 431 already, 15 walks. The only other thing I would like to see is a little bit more stolen bases. You would have thought by now at least close to 10. And this is something that the organization is preaching from the very top. You got to steal bases. We got to be aggressive. If we're not going to slug, we're going to steal some bases and we're going to put guys in scoring position. We're seeing that with Jacob Marcy at the AAA level. We're seeing with the Jumbo Shrimp at the AAA level. Let's start seeing that all the way at the bottom, and that starts at the low A level, and that's with Kaba. Boyd should be the same thing. Needs to be stealing a little bit more, in my opinion. He, I know, was not the main piece of the trade, so I'm not like whatever at this point. We'll see what happens, but it is pretty tough to see that start for someone like an Amarion Boyd, who you would have thought would be a little bit more polished, and they obviously brought him in for some sort of reason. They believe in something, so we'll see. But as Carver said, like, one of them is 19, the other one's 21. There's still a lot of time to go before we say that the Marlins lost a trade. Right now, obviously, I mean, look what Luzardo is doing. But in the long run, Kaba could be a Gold Glove winner, Platinum Glove winner potentially. So I'm not
100%.
worried about this right now.
Yeah, my only thing with Starling Kaba when this trade happened was is the high OBP a good eye, or is it just not swinging? And that is kind of an interesting kind of conundrum you run into with low A and kind of overseas players. Are they just not swinging because these pitchers can be quite wild, or are they actually selective, or is their pitch selection actually good? I don't think Kaba's there yet. I think he has the ability to get there. I do think he's a little bit of a I don't want to say free swinger in that like he'll strike out a lot, but free swinger in that if it's in the zone, he's going to swing. He's not incredibly selective when it comes to, so he gets himself out a lot of the time is what I'm trying to say. I do want to let y'all know that glove is as 80 grade gets. He is very Andrelton Simmons-esque and that is Hall of Fame level defense. So he is an outstanding defender. I've never seen a better defender at that age, at the very least. In my life, he is so fantastic at shortstop, but he's got to hit. And that was the big concern, I think. And the Phillies really, I think they were happy that helium took him all the way up. And then they were happy to part with him because the risk, he is high floor, but the risk is definitely substantial because what good is a glove if you're sending an automatic out to the plate? As far as Amarion Boyd, I think I said this when the trade happened, when you guys had me on, I wouldn't expect a lot. I really wouldn't. He is so raw. And really, I not to disagree with Carver, but I kind of, his reads in center field are really odd. And it might just be that he's raw. It might just be that he's, he likes to make things harder on himself sometimes. But I don't know. I think that it was a little bit of a question for the Phillies side of things, at least, if he would stick in center. And then if he's not going to stick in center, boy, oh boy, I mean, again, he's got to hit. And I don't think Amarion Boyd is going to hit, unfortunately. I do think the speed is great. I'm not sure if I would label it as like plus, just because he's not, like Chandler Simmons, right? And that's plus speed if you ever want to see it. But plus. That's Billy Hamilton speed. But yeah, it's a weird skill set, and he's just so difficult to pin down because there's a lot of raw talent, but man, it just does not flash a lot of the time in game, which is tough to see. Anyway, I don't want to keep us going on the prospect chat, but
I was going to do a little more prospect chat with you actually before we head into
I always want to chat
lineups. I wanted to ask you just the prospect system with the Phillies. You mentioned losing Boyd, losing Kaba. I don't want to say how much, but maybe what that did to the Phillies organization, maybe prospect-wise. Was it a big loss? How much of a loss was it? Because I know there's still Aiden Miller. You have Andrew Painter. You have Alex Carver's guy, Gabe Rincones, who's just been crushing the baseball as well. Carver has mentioned to us at least once every couple of days. But talk a little bit about this Phillies prospect, this farm system, especially after that Kaba trade.
Alex Carver just put in the chat stud in reference to Gabe Rincones, and yeah, he's looking great. Honestly, I haven't gotten around to finishing my my top 30 yet for the Phillies, and I really got to get around to doing that because we are already well into the season. But I will be the first to admit I had Gabe Rincones ranked actually a little bit lower than I would have liked to. I had him outside of my top 10, just at the 11 spot, just because can he hit lefties? Who is to say? And if you are just a platoon bat, it is hard to kind of rank you inside my top 10. But man, he's proving me very silly right now. He is raking in AAA, constantly up in that upper tier of exit velocity. He is really he's killing it. But it really, I hate to admit it, but the Kaba trade did not impact the Phillies farm system really one bit. In fact, I think they were wise to move him when they did. Listen, it's not only Andrew Painter, it's not only Aiden Miller. The Phillies have Eduardo Tait, who is probably one of the most promising an 18-year-old catching prospect playing in low A right now, who is just absolutely slugging. And this list, I love Eric Longenhagen. Do not get me wrong. This list is a little weird. I wouldn't necessarily go off of this one, but as you can see, Eduardo Tait right there at number 5. I have him personally at number 3, and that's an exclusive here at Fish on First because I haven't published this list yet. I have him number 3, primarily because he just has ridiculously easy power, great hit tool, really a bat first catcher. But man, if he can stick behind the dish, he does have a cannon of an arm. Just a really great baseball player. There's also Justin Crawford, as you can see, all the way down there at number 8. I have him at 5 overall in this Phillies system, but he is a universally, in the Phillies organization, universally beloved. Cannot get the ball off of the ground, but man, he can run. He can really oddly hit. He's so weird. Easily the hardest prospect I've ever had to evaluate in the last 7 years. He is ridiculously difficult to evaluate. Everything says he should not be finding success, and yet he is always finding success, especially on paper. It's kind of crazy. A big addition to this list is Moises Chassé, who I have at number 4th overall in the Phillies system. This is a guy that the Phillies got in return for 2 guys they dealt at addition by subtraction in dealing Gregory Soto and Sir Anthony Dominguez at the deadline last year. They're paying for it now, I would say, at least in the Sir Anthony Dominguez department. But Moises Chassé is already pretty much a consensus top 100 prospect. Ridiculous ride on his fastball, an 80 grade fastball if I've ever seen one. Insane ride, Joe Ryan-esque. Has some pretty decent secondaries, but really exciting player there. And then the big key here is number 6 on this list, who is also number 6 on my list, Mr. Arun Escobar, who, I mean, this kid has just been, since coming stateside, has been so impressive. Makes a ridiculous amount of contact, does a ton of damage when he makes contact. He is really relatively positionless, probably a second baseman if I had to guess. But he's really, again, making his way as well into top 100 prospect conversations. So you're looking at a 1 through 5. Gene Cabrera, by the way, not to be ignored. 4 is pretty high for a guy of his caliber, but not to be ignored. You're looking at probably, 5 or 6 relatively consensus top 100 prospects on this list by mid-season. And that's not to mention Mick Abel has looked a lot better to start this season, still only 23 years old. As Carver mentioned, Gabe Rincones, who has been just ripping the cover off the ball in AAA. Same with Otto Kemp, who is not even on this list, but is my number 20 prospect in the Phillies system. Yeah, I kind of did not like their 2024 draft very much, but this farm system, it's very top heavy. Don't get me wrong. But it's shaping up to look pretty good. And the Kaba subtraction didn't really hurt it very much at all, which is pretty cool. And I do have a feeling if they had tried to trade for somebody like Garrett Crochet, their farm system would have been much more heavily impacted, where they've been getting relatively similar production from Luzardo with, out having to slap a $160 million extension on him, which is pretty cool, I think.
All right, perfectly hit on the halfway point, Eli. I don't know if we have an ad break or anything to play, but if not, we can get those lineups and really talk, stick our teeth into this series. And what it seems like every day there's a great pitching matchup to see. Luzardo today with Zach Wheeler and Sandy will really dive deep into that and really see these lineups, because there are always, when you see the Phillies, always a bunch of players you want to mention there, a lot of star power, a lot of guys to really get on the nose about. And we'll start.
Yes, please go to Nate, because he has been.
I was going to ask Nate.
Yeah, he
I
has put
just
in his
said
time as
in
an
our
active
private
director.
chat. Like, can we go to Nate's just been sitting here so
Yeah,
patiently
man.
waiting to talk.
What's going on, guys? What's going on? How's everyone doing?
Hi, Nate.
Oh my God.
What up, Alex Carr? Good to see you, man.
How are you?
Yeah, so I'll just start it off with the guy at the top. You guys talked about him earlier. Of course, I want to talk about him, but it's Xavier Edwards, man. 10-game hit streak, plenty of multi-hit games in the past week and a half. I love what I'm seeing. I said last stream that earlier in the year he was kind of getting a little bit lucky, but the past couple weeks, man, he's just been poking the ball all around the field. Xavier Edwards in a torpedo bat I think that's pretty unfair. I don't know how that's still allowed, but he's mashing. Speaking of torpedo bats, Kyle Stowers is still hitting the ball pretty well. It's going to be tough in Philly, especially against all the pitchers they have, but I'm expecting a decent series out of him too. Matt Mervis fall back down to earth a little bit along with the rest of the team, but with how much red's on that guy's profile, I could see him sneaking a few out to right. And Otto Lopez, man, still struggling. I've said it last stream that I've been kind of waiting for him to break back out, but still on the slide. And then I guess Connor Norby got to talk about. He talked to Christina about it yesterday that he kind of had those late opening day jitters as it was his first game back. So it was a pretty good moment it was yesterday. Just stared at a fastball down the middle with the bases loaded, opportunity to tie the game up. So that was a little weird, but like you said, it's some jitters. It was opening day for him. So not too worried about that guy. So I think the Marlins should actually find success against this Phillies rotation. Maybe not tonight or on Sunday, but those two middle ones, that's where I'm expecting some damage done.
What's the over/under? Like 17 Connor Norby home runs in this series? I think that's
probably around
fair.
there. That sounds fair.
He loves playing the Phillies.
Those jitters are gone. I think it might be time for him.
It's crazy how he's hitting sixth, by the way. Like, I didn't see this coming at all. Like, he goes from hitting second yesterday, and now he's hitting sixth, and Otto Lopez hitting eighth. I know he's been struggling recently. It's just like, geez, man, you're gonna put Eric Wagman hitting fourth.
Like, clean up
Matt
Wagman
Mervis with six home runs in this economy is crazy.
Yeah, it's not a good lineup, but it is like for whatever reason, I just looked at this and I'm like, wow, this is actually kind of deep. Like I actually can see almost anybody on this team doing something good. I mean, Liam Hicks is the weak link here in terms of his actual production. Even him, he's a really good situational hitter. I think he leads the majors in productive outs. Where he's not actually getting it's not like helping his numbers, but it's driving in runs, and it's I mean that's been something from a Rule 5 guy to have him come up in situations and actually contribute. In that case, I mean Griffin Conine is the one that's still on my mind. The way
I'm
that
so happy for him.
Yeah, the way that he is succeeding. This profile is different. The hard hit is what we expected. Everything else was kind of a big question. And
look at that K percent.
Yeah, that's perfectly league average for a guy that was consistently having big contact issues in the minors while repeating minor league levels. And for him to this point, the fact is he's playing a lot against lefties too, and even against lefties that he's producing as well. So I'm thrilled with him. And with today's development, Derek Hill going on the IL, that was the guy that was at least in the lineup against lefties. I mean, Conan's going to be close to an everyday player for the near-term future until his production takes away that opportunity. But for now, he's kind of earned that expanded role.
All this really shows me is that Clayton has absolutely no plans of having a consistent lineup all year. I mean, we're about almost
why would you
gearing up on a month and going into this year. And I mean, Otto at 8 and then Jesus at 2nd. I mean, that's all that really shows me that he's definitely not looking for anything consistent still. But
do we think
Griffin hitting 7th is okay. With how well he's performing, sorry, Kevin, with how well Griffin is performing, as Eli just alluded to, for him to hit 7th, I'd probably move him up into a bigger RBI spot. That's me. That guy deserves, I think, to be in a more prime RBI slot. If he's striking out less than 25% of the time, and he's hitting for those kind of exit velos and that hard hit rate, he needs to be higher up in this lineup. So I don't want to pick apart another lineup. I mean, I already said what I said last week about Wagaman hitting 4th, which he's doing again now. Yeah, but yeah, I don't want to pick it apart too much. But I think Conine should be where Wagaman is, and Wagaman should be where Conine is. But that's me.
Do we think Derek Hill is a phantom IL? Because he's been terrible, like offensively.
You mean Derek Christian Pache Hill has been bad at the plate? You can't be serious.
I mean, I knew he was going to be very good. He's a very nice guy, but yeah.
And that's all that matters.
And Graham Pauley had to make the trip up and down I-95 to meet the team of Philly. So feel bad for him there.
King.
Yeah, I want to
Which
go.
isn't great, all great either. So this is essentially a not great for not great move, but
Yeah.
they need someone, and
Yeah.
it allows the outfield to get more reps. So we'll
Yeah,
take
it
it.
might be a pretty temporary situation because I don't know what Paulie had a role for the first few weeks as that fill in for Norby, but now he doesn't really have a chance to play. I think it might be a very temporary thing in case it's a brief IL stint or in case they're just waiting to add somebody else. I put it out in a tweet that this could have been Albert Almora time for him to fill in the Derek Hill role, but Almora's been awful, even at AAA. So he
Albert
unfortunately
Almora.
hasn't seized that opportunity. And they're
In
in a
the
weird spot.
year of our Lord 2025, Albert Almora Jr.
Miami Marlins. He's
And
on
you
the Marlins.
and you mentioned to us, Eli, in our chat that this doesn't count for an option for Graham Pauly because it was under 20 days, I believe, right? He was just called up, called down, just within a couple days of each other.
Right, not yet, but we anticipate it will because the reason why he was sent down a few days ago is because he's not hitting. He's not ready to be in the big leagues right now. He belongs in AAA, being the main third baseman down there. Right now, they're playing a lot of Jacob Berry at third base at AAA Jacksonville. They're playing occasionally Davison De Los Santos playing third. Like,
It's even worse.
There's room for Paulie to be
Get him
getting
around
reps
back.
in
Oh, I would like to hear more about Davison De Los Santos if I could.
Carver, this is all you.
Don't get me started.
I remember coming on this show after that trade, and I had a
Yeah,
few
you
things
did.
to say.
Let's take a
I'd
look.
like to.
I
hear
want to
more
put up
about
these
that.
updated numbers where Davison De Los Santos has still not hit a home run, by the way, and he hit 40 last year, which is fine. But that's,
Just fine.
He struck out 23 times, and he's only walked 7 times
In 11 games?
in 16 games.
In 16 games. Okay, that's not that bad.
57 at bats. So he's
Wow.
been no offense to him, but he's been terrible.
I would classify that as terrible. Wow, tough. And how's AJ Puck doing?
AJ Puck, he's been great.
Yes, he has. He's on my fantasy team.
Me
Hell
too.
yeah.
I don't really have anything else to add to what Kevin said, but I mean, he's walked 7 times, so I guess that's good for him. He's walk rate over 10%. So I don't know if you want a good news on him is that he walked a little bit, I guess, against AAA pitching, but no, it's been bad. Just that his swing is just so damn violent. It's I think he gets off balance a lot. It's a lot of pull. Like you can tell he's playing to pull when he swings the bat. I watched almost every game in the Shrimp the series. You can tell he's playing to pull pretty much all the time.
He has that preload that is just like really.
Yeah, that front foot timing. It's
pretty much when he's going to swing. It's crazy.
Power. It's a home run or nothing, and unfortunately, so far it's been nothing. But that doesn't mean he's. I fully expect him to hit plenty of home runs. I don't think last year was a fluke for his power. How does that translate to Major League Baseball? This guy really struggles against breaking pitches, so I can tell you that. And when you get to Major League Baseball, you face the best of the best breaking pitches. Like he's may struggle a bit with the strikeouts, but we've seen Conine make improvements. Hopefully, the Marlins can coach this guy the same way. We'll see. I mean,
fair.
it's not out of the realm of possibility that he could do what Conine is doing if he's coached properly. I think the power is definitely there. It's definitely for real. It's game power. I really think it is game power, not just raw power. He has game power. He just needs to kind of make better swing decisions and improve against plus breaking stuff, and he'll be okay. But he has that really high floor because of that beautiful power. I think he's overswinging right now a lot. I really think that's what his problem is, that he's trying to overswing. He's stuck in a slump. He's frustrated. He knows he should be doing better than this, and he's overswinging. So he needs to chill out, calm down, the young kid, and I think he'll be fine.
I heard from someone, like, they're telling this guy to, like, think about a 2-strike approach from the start. And for him, a 2-strike approach is I'm going to swing at everything that comes. So that could probably be the overswinging, and we saw this, Carver, and we'll, like, during spring training, the guy got exposed. There's no other way to put it. Like, the strikeout percentage went down to like 22% last year between Reno and the AA level. And then when he got here to Jacksonville, it's spiking back up. I don't know what that may have to do. Maybe what I just said, but he got exposed by big league pitching during spring training. And there's a big reason why he didn't last as long as he did. The other thing I think that may be hurting him a little bit is them putting him at third base. He has no reason to be a third baseman. He's not a good third baseman. Put him at first.
Yep.
No offense to your boy, Troy. Davison De Los Santos needs more reps than Troy Johnson at this rate in his career. And Davis is not a bad first baseman. He's actually pretty decent. He can pick it pretty well. Like, it's not bad. I think if you just keep him at first, maybe the numbers offensively will improve, and this 2-strike approach thing with his 0-0 count is removed. It'll actually be a little bit better. So it's just something with him, but it's been struggle. Like, it's been tough because then, for example, if Mervis cools off and starts looking like he did towards the end of spring training, and the Wagman will cool off, who do you have at first? And you're not going to call up Pauly to play first.
Troy.
You could, but you have to go Davison. Like, that's the guy that they're thinking will be your first baseman. And yeah, it's not looking good so far.
I think Kevin just wants to see more Jacob Berry at third base, honestly. Which by the way, off topic, but Jacob Berry has spent time at 4 different defensive positions this year. Like, what are we doing with that?
Utility king Jacob Berry.
I'm not going to him. We're not going to Jacob Berry.
Glove.
I'm gonna wait till they call him up and the little graphic says utility at the bottom. I'm gonna laugh so hard if I see that.
He's been at second base. He made a start. He started a game at second base.
I want to go to Nate before we head over to the Phillies. Kevin mentioned him just a little bit. Matt Mervis. This is a guy close to leading the National League in home runs, has been almost a complete opposite that we've really seen from him in spring training. It's just that K rate. It's in the bottom of the league, 40%. Just what do you think he has to do if he wants to at least half that or somewhat get that to 30%, and maybe what you're trying to see from him? Because this is the guy, it seems like maybe right now for the Marlins is driving in those runs, is getting those home runs that really Marlins and Marlins fans have been wanting to see for a while, someone that can go ahead and hit those home runs. And it seems like Mervis really could do that. The only one here with really red exit velos and hard hit percentage.
Yeah, coincidentally, the Marlins are playing the Phillies. He's kind of like a Kyle Schwarber light. It's a lot of three true outcomes. He's going to hit homers, he's going to strike out, and he's going to walk here and there. But with Mervis, like you said, the Marlins have been waiting for a guy that is going to hit, lefty. They've needed a lefty power bat for years now. Since even Justin Bohr, I think it's the last time they've had a true lefty power bat that didn't hit the ball out of the yard. At least in my opinion. Maybe you have Jazz, but a guy that's a slutter like Mervis, I should say. So with homers come strikeouts, just how it is. And if you want to sacrifice the strikeouts, you might have sacrificed a few home runs in there. Maybe shorten up the approach a little bit. But with a guy like Mervis, you need his bat in the lineup to drive guys out. So potentially shorten him a little bit, but at the same time, it's kind of what it comes with. So I'm not concerned yet. Like I said, there's still plenty of red on that Savant page. So if it continues, then I'll be a little bit worried. But as of now, if he keeps putting the ball out, I can't complain what he's doing.
Yeah, it's big there with just K percentage and also maybe defensively. Do you have him he's first DH only? You're not going to have him in any other positions. He's not Davis Dillon, so he's not going to put him at third base, anything like that. I don't think anyone here wants
Absolutely
to see him
not.
at third base at all.
He did pitch in college, though. So if a game gets out of hand, throw him on the mound. Let's just see how it goes. And he got traded for Brujan, so I know they both pitched.
Brujan, who gave up 51 to Ohtani.
Yeah, I think he made his first start today, Brujan, coming back for the Cubs. But let's go ahead and move over to the Phillies side of this lineup. I want to hear from Alex Carr. On this Philly team, it seems like maybe still a good amount of blue red always when you're going to have Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, guys like that. Max Kepler, who the Phillies signed for $10 million this year on a 1-year deal. And then you have Alec Bohm. Maybe with Alec Bohm, this is someone who usually we see maybe in the top of the order around 1 through 5, and now he's hitting 8th. He's right below. He's right on top of Johan Rojas and also JT Ramito over there. You can tell me a little bit about that. But what's up with Bohm? What's been happening with him? And maybe what are some quirks or maybe some negative happening so far with this lineup?
For a while, it was that he was just getting supremely unlucky. He was hitting the ball pretty hard. Just managed to keep finding the glove. I think one thing that's really important for Alec Bohm, he has yet to do this in his Phillies career, and it's really unfortunate because he really needs to. He's got to tap into his pull side power, and that is just something that he really doesn't do often. But especially when he is struggling like this, he's kind of in a little bit of a I don't really know how to describe it. He's almost not strong enough to rely on his incredible ability to shoot the ball to the opposite field. But he's too strong to not be pulling the ball. So he's stuck in this like limbo of, now that nothing is landing for him, what is he going to do? How does he bust this slump? And, he's started to show more signs of, coming back to the normal guy that he's been over these last couple of years. But, just a really unfortunate slump here. And that's really what it is. I think he'll break out of it. There's every reason to believe. I mean, you look at his, he hits the ball really hard. He makes a ton of contact. He doesn't, strike out a lot. So he's a very, and even this, a 21.1 K percent for him is high. Alec Boehm usually is around the 14 to 15% mark when it comes to strikeout percentage. He's usually just getting himself out, again, swinging at pitches that he probably shouldn't be swinging at, grounding into a lot of double plays. But he also, had 97 RBIs last year. He is a very good hitter. It's just a really unfortunate slump where nothing is landing. He's kind of mentally kind of putting himself in this swirling toilet bowl. It's unfortunate, but what aura Alec Boehm has lost, Nick Castellanos has gained, as you can see. Thankfully, Nick Castellanos was not seriously injured yesterday. I think he had some hip flexor tightness yesterday, but he's back in the lineup today. He has been unbelievably good. As you can see, the strikeout percentage way down. He is not swinging and going fishing for those down and away sliders really that much anymore. And I think what you'll notice as you look at this Phillies team, you're not seeing exactly as much impactful red as you would normally see. I think that will probably, even out as the season goes on. But what you are not seeing is a ton of blue in the K percent, column. And that's a big deal. The Phillies have walked at the highest rate in all of baseball. They are leading the league in walk percentage, and they are coming up against the team. I think Matt Gelb noted this for The Athletic. They're coming up against a team that leads the league in walk rate by pitchers. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this one pans out. I think that a lot of the blue that you're seeing on here is I don't want to call it temporary blue, but obviously we know who Trey Turner is. We know that, this is a guy that, sure, you can say what you want about decline offensively, but he still is in, the top 98 percentile of speed. He's still a great contact hitter. It's not something that I'm entirely worried about. Bryson Stott has been leading off of late. Never is one to hit the ball hard, but man, he can certainly make a lot of contact. He has been striking out a little bit more than I think you'd like to see. Would really like to see him take a few more walks. But he really is not the kind of guy that needs to do impact with the bat. He's very Luis Ariasian in that way, not to put him on that same pedestal, but you get what I'm trying to say. As far as the guys in the middle of the order, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, and even Max Kepler. Max Kepler has always been a peripheral darling, but especially lately, he's been swinging a bit of a hot bat. I think he's in for a pretty big series in this one. I think the Marlins are probably going to underestimate, how good of a hitter he really is. And he's off to a pretty decent start to the season. And then JT Realmuto steadily declining offensively, but actually has looked not bad this year. Obviously, the expected statistics kind of tell you what you're looking for in that dreadful K percentage. But he's hitting the ball harder. And more than that, he's making more contact. And he's still running like the beast that he is. So I'm actually really interested. I, for one, wouldn't be upset about a JT Realmuto down year. I would really like the Phillies to be able to hang on to him past this year. But if he performs, really well the way that we know that he can, he probably prices himself out of the Phillies range if they want to make any impactful additions in the offseason. And then Brandon Marsh is the one name that you're not seeing in this lineup right now. Don't even want to talk about it. It's really unfortunate. He has just been, right now he's dealing with a knee injury, but he has just been dreadful. Really, again, just a guy that is usually one for hot starts and has started brutally here. It's pretty bad. The K percent is really catching up with him. I really thought he was due for a big step forward this year. It's unfortunate that he's kind of, hitting his way out of a starting spot at the moment, but I think a few days off will do him some good.
Yeah, and really quickly, we'll go ahead and talk about the pitching matchups. It feels like, the Marlins putting Sandy out there, then it's Cal, then it's Connor, and then you have Phillies who, Alex Carr mentioned, have putting in your three top guys right now with Zach Wheeler, Tyron Walker.
No. I did not say that.
Tyron Walker, you mentioned his velocity looking good. Luzardo, I think, will definitely have a little more to put out there, especially going up against the Marlins. I think that should probably be the key one to watch. Eli, what do you want Sandy coming up against the Phillies? I know Kyle Schwarber is a guy who's really tested Sandy throughout his career. You have guys like Trey Turner, who we've seen a lot, Bryce Harper. But what do you expect for Sandy? Because this really seems like his first true test of the season.
Man, the short answer is we don't really know what to expect from him right now. And Alex pointed out perfectly. One of my bold predictions entering this year is that the Marlins would walk more batters than any other. I said the National League. I wasn't bold enough to say they might actually walk more than the White Sox, for example. So I limited it to the NL that I thought walks were going to be a problem for the staff, and that Sandy, as with a lot of guys post Tommy John, control is sometimes the last thing to fully come back. And even with him, we've seen the velo has fluctuated a little bit, and that's to be expected. So we think that as this year goes on, he's going to be more consistent and simply better. And on a start-by-start basis, I really don't know what to expect. But he does, I would at the very least think that it's going to be slightly cleaner than it was in his previous outing. It was highly uncharacteristic for him to have that many walks, but also not miss very many bats in his previous start, coming off of extra rest. So, I mean, by default, based on his track record, I think he's going to be better. I think he's going to go deeper into this game, but it's dependent. This lineup is not going to help him out if he's falling behind in counts. And that's going to be a pretty big difference here in this situation. So yeah, among these starters, I'm most intrigued to see what Sandy does, but this is really the first time in a few years where I don't have super high expectations from him, just because what we've seen so far, it was really good in spring training. And then in the regular season, it's been up and down and up and down, even in the small sample.
Yeah, just with these here. Alex Carr, really quickly before we head into our prediction times, you mentioned Taiwan Luzardo. Has Luzardo maybe mentioned anything at all coming into this series, going ahead and facing Miami? Is this really the one that he's maybe mentioned circling on his calendar, or do you think maybe on your own Luzardo might have a little more here against the Marlins? Because this is also where Luzardo pitched in that playoff series as well. I don't think he did too hot there against the Phillies in that playoff game, but how do you expect Luzardo to be going up against his former team?
I mean, you guys know Zeus. I think that when it comes to, he is such a sweet guy. Like, he is such a nice human being, but when he gets on the mound, man's a bulldog. And I don't doubt that there'll be a little extra fire coming from him on that mound, this weekend. I think that any pitcher is going to use any motivation they possibly can to just, murder the opposing side. At least that's how most of them treat it. And I think for him, it's no different. But I think after, maybe not pregame, but postgame, I think you'll definitely see him going up to some old teammates, giving them hugs, high fives, all the things. I think he probably misses it in Miami. I do. I think that he was comfortable there. And I think obviously, his final year didn't go the way that he wanted it to, but man, they really unlocked something for him. And I think, he's grateful for that, but I think at the same time, they're an opponent now. And I think that's going to be how he treats it.
Hometown team too. So
yep, exactly. That
trade definitely probably hurt him. So literally, I remember this. It was like maybe a day or two before the trade. He was out there doing work for the community with the Marlins.
Such a family guy. Well, he immediately, first day in Philly, he was like, how do I get involved? Just immediately. He's something else, man. He's really, I think that there's something to being quietly generous that is a really endearing quality in any celebrity, but primarily a baseball player. He's a great guy. Really, really excited to watch that start. I think it's going to mean a lot for him, and I'm psyched for him.
Yeah, I think now we're also psyched to do prediction time. Eli,
if I get the Eli intro. Only if I get it. Give it to me.
This is prediction time.
I don't want to toot my own horn here, but I'm really good at this.
Yes.
Prediction time is here. Let us take a quick look at the leaderboard. Oh, yeah, the leaderboard first that we have so far this season. Our staffers, our stream guests, and our super subs predicting how many games the Marlins are going to win in these series and who the MVP will be. It's being dominated by super subs. All the underlines are our staffers. So 8 of the top 9. Well, I should say 8 of the top 10 coming from outside of this.
Eli, what is going on?
I'm at least I'm above the cutoff. I think. Well, I guess everybody here is except for
okay.
Well, Carver. He sometimes doesn't make predictions. So, but I think everybody else is represented here. Daniel and Nate are the top performers among our staff to this point. So we appreciate everybody that supports what we do. FishOnFirst.com/subscriptions if you want to be a super sub, and we keep track of this all season long. People enjoy it as I maintain this leaderboard. 6 series down, and there's like 47 still to go. So even if you're starting right now, there's still time to come back and make a rally here. We will check to see what a few of our super subs are saying for this series. As expected, a lot of Phillies selections, but a little bit both ways on here to this point. There's a Jesus Luzardo, a couple of Jesus Luzardo MVP picks. Bryce Harper. I don't think we even mentioned Bryce during this entire stream, but he is so
a little bit.
He's so consistently awesome. We know what we're getting with him, and so there's a glimpse of what everybody is thinking to this point. Still a few minutes left. 18 minutes before first pitch is when I stop accepting submissions for that. But I think that's going to
Lopez MVP. Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's there's a lot of interesting directions we could go.
Yeah,
but
Matt Mervis against these 3 pitchers. Well, Taijuan Walker, maybe he lucks one out, but 3 guys that just know how to, I don't know, dominate you from a breaking ball perspective. Yikes. We'll see. I'll eat my words. I'll be happy to.
All right. Let's go ahead for prediction time. First one up, as always, lead off, Mr. Embarral.
I think the Marlins will lose 2 out of 3, and we just spoke about him. Bryce Harper will be the series MVP.
Ooh. All right, Alex Carver.
Short and sweet for me. I think that Alex Carr talked a lot about this guy, and a lot of what he said kind of speaks to me. And this guy hits a very befitting 305 in his career against the Marlins with an 823 OPS. Nick Castellanos is the MVP, and the Phillies winning 2 out of 3.
All right, I'll go. I think it's going to be a tough series for the Marlins. 3 pitchers who are at their A game right now. Zach Wheeler will, of course, have a bounce-back game tonight. I think the Phillies sweep. MVP, Kyle Schwarber. He has a home run in every game this series. Let's go to Nate.
The bank has not been a fun place to go if you're a Marlins fan. I think it's going to continue this time around. I think the Phillies will take 2 out of 3. Series MVP might be my easiest pick of the year, all right? Jesus, Easter Sunday, against his former team and his childhood team, Jesus Luzardo. That's your MVP.
Eli.
I'm sticking with the Marlins here to pull off the upset. Winning 2 out of 3 in Philly over the weekend right here. A lot of MVP possibilities. I'm going to ride the Griffin Conine wave. Well, he's doing what he's doing against both righties and lefties, really consistent, and he's going to be in the lineup, we think, in at least 2 of these 3 games. Wouldn't be surprised if he comes off the bench in the finale and does some damage against the bullpen. So until he fades, I'm going to ride that great story that he's continuing to build. And I think the Marlins salvage things and pick themselves up after getting swept in the previous series.
All right, lastly.
By the way, Dad was a flip fish. Dad Jeff Conine, a flip fish.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say Nick Castellanos MVP. I think that it is just, he's been too good. He's been really, really, really great. And I think Philly's going to take it 2-1. I'll say 2-1. A conservative 2-1.
Nice conservative pick there. Go ahead. You have your time to set in super sub prediction. Almost game time. Should be a fun series as well. Marlins, Phillies, Sandy, Zach Wheeler, the return of Jesus Luzardo. As always, I'm Daniel, Eli, Kevin, Nate, Alex Carver, Alex Carr. This is FOF Live presented by About the Fans. And have a good Easter weekend, everybody.
Fish on First has partnered with About the Fans to launch a merchandise collection. Rep the FOF logo in more Marlins-inspired apparel. Find it all at aboutthefans.com. Enter coupon code FOF10 at checkout to get 10% off your order. FOF10 for a 10% discount.